Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Vicky broadcast. This broadcast is not going to be what the broadcasts usually are. This is going to be more of an after hours sort of a thing. It's 1 a.m. and I kind of felt bad about today's, January 3rd, about today's broadcast, and I just feel like I should better express the general ideas of why this country can't keep going the direction that it's going right now. I'll probably either use this as tomorrow's broadcast or I'll do a whole nother broadcast for tomorrow. We'll see how I feel. But the first reason why this country can't keep going in the left-wing direction that it's going right now, in the neoliberal direction rather, is the national debt. And of course this is a thing that is hit time and time again by conservatives and by libertarians of, the national debt, and they're crying national debt all the time. I'm not one of those guys, but what I will say is that we can't function in an economy where we are just constantly adding on to the debt. At some point we have to start paying this back, or else our currency is going to be completely meaningless in an international sense. Of course this isn't going to happen for probably another 100 years or so, but this is still a crisis that is just waiting to happen. In fact, it could happen a lot sooner if we don't actually start to manage it soon. The second reason, which is a lot more legitimate, is probably the declining national production levels, and that is more relative to just general national security than the economy. Because we can rely so much on foreign trade, we don't really have to worry about producing a lot of the stuff that we need here at home, but every year that goes by, the amount of products that are actually produced in the U.S. continues to decline, from automobiles to medicine to machinery. It just continues to decline when it should be increasing with our increasing population. This is because nowadays we rely on a lot on service and internet industries, which is nice and all, except all of those industries can literally just be transported to another country with the with the slip of a flash drive or the click of a button on a computer. Our entire economy can be transported over to China or India or some other nation of that sort. The third reason that I'd like to go over is just the moral destruction of our military, and I don't mean in the sense of, there's these pansies, right? There's these hippies who don't want to join the military. I don't mean that. I just mean we are no longer in a position where the majority of our population is willing to die for the survival of our nation. It's quite sad, really, but it seems that we're more concerned about our enemies and about the civilians in enemy nations than we are about our own soldiers. And I understand that we still care a lot about our vets and stuff like that, right? There's plenty of vet moms out there, right? People with the bumper sticker, and vet wives who care in a electoral sense, but I mean in a moral sense, right? The young men in this country just don't seem to care about the success of our nation on the international stage anymore. It just doesn't seem to be their concern. And unless we are willing to kill others, right? And I hate to put it that way, but unless in a time of war we are willing to kill others for the survival of our nation, then we're doomed, right? We're just absolutely doomed. And I just want everyone to consider that I am a pacifist in a international policy sense. I think that we should be getting out of all of these foreign conflicts. I think all of them are a waste of time, money, resources, men, everything. But there will come a time in the future, if history has shown us anything, peace is not eternal, right? Peace is not eternal. At some point we will have to fight another war for the survival of our nation and our ideas. And when that time comes, we better be ready to, put up or shut up, because we can literally have our entire nation collapse to a foreign enemy in the next, 50, 60 years, if it comes down to it, right? I think it was Nixon who said, when the chips are down, if the most powerful and, successful nation in the world acts like a helpless giant, then it's doomed. That probably isn't his exact quote, but it's the quote that I'll be using right now. I would say fourth. I'm not going to really list these anymore, but the next issue that is degrading our nation to a point of no return is partisanship, and this is probably one of the biggest ones, is that our nation is so divided on a political scale, on an ethnic scale, on a cultural scale, even on a linguistic scale right nowadays with the hyper-immigration and stuff like that, is we are just becoming so divided that we don't have any sort of nationalism anymore. Sure, we have some patriotism towards, the general idea of our country, but we have completely lost any semblance of unity on a national scale. Honestly, all it would take would be, 5 bad years of the economy, right, aka another Great Depression, for our country to balkanize completely. Right? I mean, we just see more and more political violence every 4 years. Every election, we see more and more political violence. It's ridiculous. Even on non-election years, you have tons of political violence. You have rioting. You have it's mostly rioting, but you have riots, you have threats of assassinations, you have all this sort of stuff. We just can't have this partisanship in our country and expect to have a country for much longer. The next reason would have to be the destruction of our stability economically through government policy, which is sort of just reiterating what I said before. But the main point of this would have to be that our country has made the decision, or at least people within our government have made the decision, that short-term little, you could say, token moves by our government, right? Things that are more about the idea and the symbolism of their economic policy, as it seems to matter more than the actual effects of their economic policy, right? Where they don't really seem concerned about whether or not people are actually being helped by their government organizations and by their government policies in terms of welfare, food stamps, just general things like that, where the results of these programs no longer matter, and instead it's just about people doing these little token movements of, oh, well, look, I did this thing during my presidency, during my term, during my whatever, we got this passed, and no one ever having to actually show how any of these helped people, right? Where it doesn't seem to be about helping people anymore. It just seems to be about being the one to do the little symbolic legislation that is going to supposedly help all these people. The real tragic fact of the matter is that a lot of these programs are in fact destroying the nuclear family, which of course I'm not in love with, but it does seem that the nuclear family is somewhat important in a modern American economy, wherein people are going to have to act as, little households, right? Where maybe the nuclear family isn't the perfect structure, right? Maybe it will change with time, but at least for now, it seems that the destruction of the nuclear family has been devastating for many communities in the United States, especially for blacks throughout the country. Just these economic policies seem to be incentivizing divorce and single motherhood in a lot of these communities, you could say. Another thing with the economy is that it's slowly becoming a Ponzi scheme. This is something that's going to be kind of difficult to understand, but the fact of the matter is there's no Social Security bank. When you pay into Social Security, you're paying for the Social Security of the people who are receiving it right now, meaning that unless we have a ever-growing population, and I mean rapidly growing population, who's going to be paying into Social Security, then no one's going to get their Social Security payments in the future. Which means either the government needs to import a ton of migrants, or pretty much our children, our children's children are going to have to work like crazy. Now, in the world of automation, this doesn't seem to be something that's reasonable at all. Also, with the fact that our country is already so divided, it seems unreasonable to import more people from other countries. It just doesn't seem rational at this point in the game, you could say. But the main point that I'm trying to get at here is that all of these, neoliberal policies that all of these left-wing tilt policies are doing is that they are causing this massive, massive loss in stability. And stability is what I'm calling for here. Just some sort of assurance that America will not collapse and cannot collapse in the future. Just so, we don't have to pay for the mistakes of having a super inflated debt. We don't have to pay for the mistakes of having a super divided populace, and we don't have to pay for the mistakes of having a Ponzi scheme of a retirement plan for America's people. It's just ridiculous. Really, the way to solve most of this would just be nationalism and then just rationalism when it comes to the economy. So nationalism in the social sphere and rationalism in the economic sphere. You can almost say like a national minarchist or something like that. But, I don't want to get into ideologies and their names and stuff like that. But pretty soon I will be approaching the 10-minute mark, and I do hope this makes up for somewhat of a lackluster broadcast today. I may just put this up on 87.5 FM tomorrow, and it'll also be January 4th broadcast. But thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in. I'm sorry if I sound kind of tired and if my speech is not what it needs to be right now, but I thank you all for tuning in with me. Have you all a wonderful day. See ya.